Hello Internet, this is Oleg and welcome to my tech channel. Today we're going to talk about cybersecurity. Actually we're going to talk about internet security which you have at home. So why it is important? First of all, during the last year most of us started to work from home, and by working from home you'll bring down to your house actually all the company infrastructure. We used to think that companies got infrastructure somewhere in a bigger enterprise buildings with server rooms and all that other stuff, but guess what? Part of that infrastructure right now is migrated to your house in the form of company cell phones, company laptops, and maybe even company desktops if somebody's still using them. So all of those right now, because they're sitting inside your corporate, inside your home network, they're all subject to cyber attacks. And if you think that you are a small guy, right? You are sitting on the internet, you are just one person, you are not a big company, and you would not of any interest to the hackers on the network, which are basically going and mining for the data and trying to exploit your vulnerabilities and get at things like that, and then come back to you and ask for ransom to get your files back. If you think you are not kind of eligible for that attack, you are dead wrong. Partially because most of the businesses moved also inside your house. Your corporation's laptops are inside the network. But the other thing is, we do lots of stuff right now from the internet, and we buy online, we shop, or we go and visit sites online, we book tickets online, we do most of the work, we even order the food online, and most of the online services are booming right now because this is how the things are done. People are not going to the malls anymore, pretty much, like just for window shopping maybe, but you buy stuff on Amazon or some other sites like AliExpress, because this is more convenient. You're doing it from the convenience of your home. You can specifically sit down and just look through all the reviews, see what people think about the product, and then just go and buy it online. And all of that information is stored in the form of cookies, in the forms of different things on your systems. And for the hacker, for like, hey, you think maybe this is somewhere outside of your country, somewhere in, I don't know, in China, in Korea, or in Russia, in other places, people are just going and trying to undermine your IT infrastructure to get backdoors and stuff like that. But hey, you don't know, because it's somebody like, you don't know. For some people, hacking is kind of a sport. Then they go ahead and just, trying to prove to themselves that they can do it. And this is a confirmation for their kind of acknowledgement of their knowledge and, how they experts in IT, right? For the other people, and most of the people right now, this is just another way of doing business. And you're paying for this business in Bitcoins, in these things, right? These things right now are booming because you cannot trace them, and you can ask for ransom because you see that your laptop is crashing and you're trying to boot it up and it says, oops, your data is encrypted. And then you get an email on the separate account saying that, hey, we just hacked your system, and if you want your pictures back, your photos back, your videos back, your documents back, your tax returns, all of that things, all of this information, if you want it back, pay us to this account in Bitcoin and we will decrypt your data and give it back to you. And then until you got that messages and until you are in this scenario, you never treat this thing seriously. But imagine how many systems right now you have in your smart home. Your cameras, your smart appliances, your, your Wi-Fi routers is booming signals everywhere. And not all of them are pretty much safe from the perspective of somebody can get access to those systems. And if they get access to those systems, it's just a matter of time, then they actually got to the protected infrastructure and protected environment on your home network. And you would even know, because they usually do it during the night, or they coordinate that so you don't really pay attention, and they don't do massive damage immediately. They just go and explore everything, and then they one hit control all of your systems right now. And you are in a scenario when you either have to pay or you have to try to decrypt the data, which is never going to happen, right? And all of that information is seated in some folders on your laptops, on your home laptop or on your corporate laptop, and all of that can be just gone. And that's why it is important to at least do some kind of internet hygiene and basically go ahead and do some preventive maintenance, if you will, for your internet habits, for your internet connections, for your internet infrastructure, how your system outside of the house, how is your gateway facing internet, what kind of protection it's getting. We're going to talk mostly about solutions from UNIFI, how it is working and how it is protecting your environment from attacks from outside. You know about firewalls, right? So firewall is basically the way from your gateway, your router, which you got from the internet provider or your own router, like in my case, to look on the traffic and see who is coming from what IP addresses, what ports they try to open on your system, on your client servers, on the network, and block them, right? Most of the time, most of the incoming traffic is blocked, but the thing is, what happens if you got Trojan horse or you got like fishy email, which you click on the link and it's installed some kind of malware, which is actually talking from inside your network to outside. In that case, firewall will not protect you because connection is initiated from inside, and as long as that connection is open, the link is established, right? And that can be happening like most of the time without you knowing about that, unless you go and check on the connection status of your systems, which nobody actually does. And for average user, it's like a rocket science. So how this is supposed to help you if you got the gateway? The gateway is basically going in, and unless you block the whole range of IP addresses based on the country and say whatever we see from this IP address, block it, right? But it will drop all the traffic in that case, and you can actually impact your accessibility to those sites which you might be hosting from that infrastructure. And because of the distributed network for things like Twitch, for the things like Twitter, for the things like Facebook, it's all on the distributed servers. And if the attacker is actually going, you never know that it's going to happen to you, because from what IP address they're going to come over, this is all changes all the time, because they never come up to your environment from real IP. So if you block one range, it doesn't really matter, because they go and use another range and try again. So it's more smart if you go and use smart routers, like the ones which can actually see the traffic. From the analogy perspective is, imagine you have a whole bunch of people coming in the street, right? And these are your IP traffic coming to inside your network. So what we need to know is to go and each and every of that packets, and each and every of this person has to be identified, and we have to know what kind of inside that package information, so we can analyze that and see if they potentially harmful to a network or we can go through. So this is what DPI does, and DPI is not dot per inch like on the displays or something like that. It's deep packet inspection. And in UNIFI, the hacking protection across all the systems is done based on the analysis of these packets using DPI traffic, DPI information, and then using some rules which are known by the signature. Each and every things which we have from the attack perspective is going to be Tor browser, or if you go from the different malware attacks and trying to get access attacks and stuff like that, there is a signature of on this particular attack. So what DPI does is looking inside those signatures and trying to match them to the huge database of different signatures of the similar attacks which get recorded by different protective agencies, right? And what they do, if they catch that signature, they match it, similar to how Shazam actually matches your music when you go in and try to ask Shazam for specific music. Same thing happens here. It does match that signature to the actual signature recorded, and then it will understand that, oh, this is the get access attack, or this is like denial of service attack, and just drop those packets based on that information. So on the UNIFI, we're gonna look inside the console as well, and I'm gonna show you how to set it up. It's a minimum you can do. The only penalty is on that thing is that then you try to use preventive protection from the hackers outside. It has to look on every single packet which is coming to your network. So the more analysis you do during these inspections, the more CPU power you would need from your router to actually be able to handle that and still maintain the throughput to your network from your internet connection will not slow down and stuff. You have very powerful things like Dream Machine Pro, which will handle this because it's got more recent CPU, more memory, and simply more powerful box. In that case, you will still have access because the packet will go through until the moment then it's actually matching the signature, and in that case you will see it in the log file. Alright, so we're gonna look more on the intrusion prevention and intrusion detection systems provided by UNIFI, and I'm gonna show you how to set it up. Here is our UNIFI infrastructure. As you can see, this is the dashboard which I'm using. If you're interested how to get this dashboard, I have a video on the channel explaining how this is set up. It's very useful. It shows me everything pretty much in one pane of glass, which I don't have to dig inside the information. I can see most of the stuff here. So the things which I added recently to this is this guy here. This is basically telling you what is the threat management map, how it's looking, and how many protections, how many attacks I got in the last 24 hours. So again, this is just an infrastructure. It's not really a big company. It's just my system inside my house, which is being scanned periodically. And you know how internet goes in waves. When they go and scan a whole bunch of IP addresses for vulnerabilities, and if they find any potential access points when they can get in, they can actually go and dig deeper inside of those possibilities to get the information that is sitting inside that network. How it's reflected here. So this is the threat management thing, which is basically I have enabled, and I see there in the last 24 hours I have 53 different attacks from these different countries, and they all go and try to get inside my system. So what happened here, you can look on the traffic log, but for your information, just to see how many I got during the month of March. So we go from here to 26, right, to 27. Look at that number, 530 attacks happen against my network inside my servers, which I have here from different countries on that thing. And some of these days we actually go on March 18 was maximum of 96 attacks recorded during that day, which are high threat level, which is basically trying to get access, trying to get root privilege, or trying to get administrator privilege or stuff like that. Low severity attacks are basically going trying to get some data phishing and scanning for specific ports and games. And this guy here is low severity threats, basically different attacks. All of those definitions are available. So IDS prevention, this is what it is, and I'm going to drop link of that particular page inside down in the descriptions down below to this video. But what you can see here, attention that enabling intrusion detection and prevention system is basically slowing down your router. This is what it says here, right? So I have USG Pro, so my numbers are still very high. I'm not enabling everything. Well, I pretty much have level 5 security enabled, but what it is right now, I still see, as you can tell here from the dashboard, my throughput speed is still pretty high. Like I'm getting 477 megabyte per second download and 33 up. This is just how West provider works. But the thing is here, it's saying you that the more details about categories, this is very important. So this is basically telling you what kind of prevention attack and how IDS and IPS works. And we have active X attacks, we have active response attacks, and all the intrusions and all the information of those matching signatures and how it is being identified is basically listed here. What we go, like usually we go and drop ICMP packets, right? This is basically a simple ping which will go and say, are you alive? Do you have somebody living on that IP address? Or the shield attacks, like which is basically identified attackers. And this particular signature list is basically a living document which is expanding day by day. But most of them are listed here, and this is mostly widely spread kind of attacks which are listed in these particular explanations. You can read of those and see what kind of attacks each and every method and category describe. And it's not just if you go and say IMAP, it's a set of rules. It's just not one rule, it's a set of rules for identification, basically going on through vulnerabilities using IMAP mail protocol, right, or ICMP, or games. If you have, like, if you're playing games online, this would be very important for you as well. All right, so how you set it up, basically these things is explaining you a lot how to set it up, but I'm going to show you on my infrastructure how the whole thing works. So you go and say, for example, if I go to settings and you see I'm using new interface, you can switch back to classic if you want. And actually, if you go to security right there, this is the internet threat management. All right, this is what you need to set up. So we see here I have a level 4 and I have it enabled. There are two ways you can do this, and it's basically saying to you again here that the speed of the download and the speed of the actual throughput of your router will change if you enable. The more categories you enable for scanning, the slower it's gonna go, because it's gonna look on every single of those packets. And because internet is a massive thing, it's lots of traffic going on. If you look on every single point of time, you have traffic coming in and coming out. Either you know it or not, either you're using your system or not. There are lots of processes which are going behind the scenes in background, which are checking stuff, connecting to different servers, validating things with Google, with Amazon, with lots of different stuff, and all of that traffic coming in and out. And on top of that, there's a spam traffic, which you can talk, which we can talk separately. I have a video about that setup as well. But let's just focus on here. So intrusion detection system is basically you're gonna receive the alert on your log saying that somebody was trying to get in to your network, but it will still pass through. This is for me just an option if you have slow system and you try to really try the water and see how the whole thing works. You can select that. But if you really want to protect your systems inside, then you go intrusion prevention system, and it will automatically block any threats which are matching the signature. It will not block the port, it will not block the IP address this thing is coming from, unless you specifically say so, but it will block based on the categories which we described, which are basically listed on a UNIFI website. And you see here there is a custom. If you want to modify, there is lots of stuff here. I pretty much have everything checked in, except for things I know for sure I'm not using, and all of those threads are basically going in and check out. So my level is 4. If you go with level 5, which is maximum protection, more of these check boxes will be selected automatically, right? I have 23 out of 35, and when I enable that, my CPU on the router jumps to around 40%, and then it slows down and cool off, and now it's okay, right? It's just around 5% or so on average. So you go network scanners, you go lots of stuff here. If you're using VoIP, definitely select that. So I'm using VoIP, but it's on a separate subnet, so it's not really seeing my network. So, but mostly interesting part is this guy here, which is bad reputation. We know for sure that these sites of this set of IP addresses are coming with signatures with a bad reputation, like CI Army or D-Shield or Compromise. You will see those on side there. So let's see on a log file here, have alerts. And as you can see, alerts, this is the threat management alerts. So basically saying you that we scan and we find out things are coming to your network, right? So we caught all of those things and we drop them, but there is a still message in the event log. You can also go and check here, then you go and say on the management side, first of all, don't open any ports to your infrastructure unless you absolutely have to. And maybe even if you open the ports like VPN and stuff like that, you know that you're supposed to use VPN, then you can connect from your laptop at work, at home, to your work infrastructure. But while it's not connected to VPN, this is going to be still subject for, because it will sit on your network, it will be visible, and it's going to be subject for attack. If hacker get into your network, they can scan across all your IP addresses and find every single machine or every single IP camera which is connected to your network. And therefore they have to whole field of stuff to explore vulnerabilities, and they can do it as long as they got to your systems undetected. And if you don't have this enabled, then they can get into your systems undetected. So let's go back again and just select this thing and say, okay, from here to here I have this, right? So these are all the threats which we got. I got that many DNS high attack. We have user agents attack. We have Tor. As long as I decide to use Tor on my infrastructure, it will be flagged. Good thing about prevention system from UNIFI is also checking and seeing things which are going inside your network and trying to get outside. So if something goes into the signature pattern, which is coming from your network to outside, it will be caught as well, and it will be reported. So you can see what's going on. So that's many DF shields, that's many unknown, that many user agents, all of those are categorized. And if you're gonna look on the traffic log, so we go and scan by the date, and this is what we see, right? So United Kingdom, from this particular range of IP addresses, if we really know that this is had set of pattern, right? 405, 146, 166, right? You can actually click on that and block the whole range, block that IP address. But like I said, this is not really a good thing, because this IP address is this today, but if you block it, they come back to you from different IP address tomorrow. And it's more important to just analyze the traffic. And you see there on attempted information leak, it was scanning request, it was going against the systems on my infrastructure, and it's recorded, and it's medium base attack. Let's see something which is red. Alright, so this was user agent basically trying to employ some binary on my system and then run it to access and get the root access and get administrative access on my systems. Potentially corporate privacy violation. You see the user agents is running, and this is basically going again from the United States. Like I said, it's not necessarily the countries which we kind of associate with the hackers' activity. It's coming from everywhere. And you will be surprised. You see Iceland, you see Russian Federation, United States, Poland, France, whatever, right? It's lots of things here. Like United States are pretty active as well. You see there, all of those attacks are coming from the States. Alright, as you can see, this is the queries, which are basically for the last 24 hours, and this is the total amount of traffic requested. See how much percent we got blocked because of the adware. This is all scam pages which are going and sending you ads which you don't really want, and this is contributing to your traffic, hence making life of the IPS system more difficult, because you have to analyze the packets which are basically junk, and they go and say this is what we blocked, but from the IDS perspective, the intrusion prevention system perspective, this is traffic the same as anything else. And they have to look at it. So you have to actually minimize that to make sure your system is working more effectively, and you trying to filter out the things which you don't want. It's not just one firewall or just one IDS system. It's just the whole thing, right? This works together and helping my router to minimize the load on the CPUs by eliminating the traffic which I don't want. So just recommendation, consider this blocking appliance. Because it's running on Raspberry Pi, as you can see. This is very cheap solution, but it's very effective solution to block traffic you don't want. Alright, so that's pretty much it. So in the conclusion, what do we have for the IDS and intrusion prevention system? This is very important to have it set up. I cannot stress the list. You never know, and you don't expect that to be visible on your. You don't expect you to be subject of that attack, but these recent deployments of, and especially the last year when most of people are working from home, especially the people in IT, they all tend to work from home with the company laptops or from your own infrastructure, you supporting that from your house. And as that, it has to be protected. There are different roles which you can assign on the router itself. For example, there's a whole different video about how to set up on VLANs and how to set up different networks which do not talk to each other, and you separate your internet-facing systems from your internal systems and from your corporate IP address range. So all of that can be explained as well. If you're interested, just let me know in the comments down below. I will put it in and make another video for you about how to set up proper VLANs and distribution, and how to separate those traffics from the smart devices, separate VLAN at IP address range, from the smart cameras, separate VLAN IP address range, and from your system, which is going to be main IP address range, and then guest network and stuff like that. From the video about the guest network, I have a video on the channel explaining how to set up the guest network on the router, on the H router, but set it up on UNIFI is pretty much identical, so nothing major there. And we talked about VLANs as well. Alright guys, that's it for today, quick video. So I hope you enjoyed and I hope you find it very useful. And just for the perspective of the summary, stay protected, protect your infrastructure at home, protect your Wi-Fi network. Don't create very don't create very simple to guess passwords. Make sure it's all complicated, and the more protection and more thinking you put into this particular effort, more protected you will become, and more protected will be your systems in your house. And therefore the data which you have, the data which is privacy data and the data which is related to you specifically, it's going to be safe, or more safer than it is right now. Anyway, if you like this video, you know what to do. Click subscribe button, share it with your friends, and make sure your notification bell is on, and you will be notified in this case when the next amazing video will be shot on this channel, and you will be among the first people to know that it's waiting for you on this channel. Thank you for staying with me till the end. Until next time, I'll see you around. Peace.
Bye.